Hello, hello. Thank you everybody for being here today. Today we're lucky enough to get to speak with Laurie Neilsen, author of Down the Rabbit Hole, Liminal Spaces Book One. And honestly, I don't even know where to begin here because I absolutely tore through this. I love the way that you blended like the Alice in Wonderland kind of theme, but in a modern day scenario where we've all been to a gas station. We've all like you made it feel so relatable. And I think that that's what makes these fantasy-esque stories really thrive is that you're only one or two steps removed from the reality we actually live in. And it's one of those things where maybe you just need to turn over the other stone and this is the world you end up in. And I think it's one of those stories that really leads it's like peak escapism for me because it's relatable. So hats off to you. I really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Yeah, I tried to draw from my own experiences and my own neighborhood and really just write like a familiar place. It's based around where I live, the first book. And yeah, I just tried to make it feel like a place where you could go and feel like that, draw off those liminal spaces of like when you go somewhere and you get that eerie feeling of like, if I turn a corner, is it just going to be like a portal and
Yeah,
I could step
exactly.
through it and just end up somewhere else?
Liminal spaces is where I think I wanted to start because it comes up obviously loads in the book. Liminal space is something that I only found out about a while back. And it's one of those things that I've always really liked without knowing what the name for it is. You know, everyone talks about like gas stations at 2 in the morning,
Hmm.
train stations, hospitals and stuff. There's all these places that are through places, passing places.
Hmm.
Tying that into like Fae mythology and stuff was super cool. And I'm a big fan of things where like the real world and the other world overlap a bit.
Hmm.
Usually more in a horror capacity, but I like it when it's nice as well. You know, I like when it's a bit more, when it's a bit softer and a bit gentler. But I think where I wanted to start then was the concept of liminal spaces generally, because I find it fascinating and I love
Hmm.
media that features it. So I know it got really popular a while back with things like the back rooms, which I don't know if you're familiar with.
No.
Oh, you're going to have a field day. So you know how the late night shopping mall from the 90s kind of thing, like where everything's pastel colored and the lights are all fluorescent and there's no one around.
Mm.
That picked up a lot of like meme potential and I think probably the generation below ours really took to it as a horror thing. They started making games and like short
Oh,
films on YouTube and stuff about people getting
Intrigued.
lost in these endless spaces that's just hallways and it's like the rooms behind everything else, you know, like the back rooms.
mhm.
So I'm impressed that you haven't seen it, but tell me a little bit about your relationship with liminal spaces as a concept.
It's something that's fascinated me. Obviously, the memes, yeah, I've seen a lot of those. I'm on Tumblr. I'm chronically online.
Oh,
Tumblr's still
And
the best.
I love those. I love like the photography of
hmm
those, empty places, when there's fog.
hmm
That kind of I haven't played a lot of video games, but like that Silent Hill kind of
Yes.
like I
Yeah.
live on the
Yes.
coast and occasionally the beach will just have like this fog roll in. I'm on the coast of Connecticut and I can see Long Island from here.
Mhm.
And there was one day where it was so foggy I could barely even see the water from
hmm
the road that runs along the beach. And it just, yeah, I just love times like that. I love photos like that. Anytime there's like a photo compilation of like liminal spaces and they have like the empty garage,
hmm
the underground place, the apartment building with like a really long hallway or hotel
hmm
Mhm.
and just everything's empty and it has that feeling that just makes the goosebumps on your arm
Yeah.
and the hairs in the back of your neck stand up. And I just, anytime I see those, I'm like, this needs to be a story. There needs to be a story behind this. And it doesn't always have to happen at night because which is in the book, there's this zoo in my city, Beardsley Zoo. And it's got this huge carousel, this beautiful room where people can have parties and stuff. But I went there with a bunch of friends one day and it was totally empty. There was no one in that building. And I put that in my book. I was just like, when there's no one in there and the carousel isn't running, you hear your footsteps echo through this huge empty space. That's the word I use for Alexa. And she just was like, I can't help you with that. Um, but you hear, and it just feels like if I started the carousel now with no one on it, would it take me somewhere else? Could I ride one of
Hmm.
these horses into somewhere else? And yeah, it just kind of it gets my imagination going. And I've been fascinated with fairy stuff for a really long time. So those
Hmm.
two things just collided in my brain. I had to
It's
make it
I,
into.
I can usually tell when someone's done a lot of research for a book that they're writing because it shines through. But there's a different feeling that I get when someone's really into a topic.
mhm,
Yeah.
Maybe to the point where they don't have to research it. I was really like I know my fairies, and I was really impressed at the sheer number of types of fae that you managed to get into this. Like obviously you've got things like banshees. Also more like I don't want to call fairy mythology lore as if it's like a video game with a Wikipedia page or something. Uh, but I think people always forget things about, like the banshee is a good example. The banshee, everyone thinks about the scream and it means you're going to die, but people forget that banshees have something of like a divination thing going on with them,
mhm.
that they're oracular. Again, I don't know if
Mhm.
that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Uh, so this is something you've been into for a long time then.
Oh yeah. And
Okay.
like, excuse me, wrong pipe. I could honestly die drinking water someday. Um, I also, and sometimes like some of this inspiration comes from other works of fiction. There was a Heath Ledger TV show called Roar. Um,
Mm-hmm.
very short in like the year 2000 or something. It was forever ago. Heath Ledger, well, I mean, back when he was alive. Uh, there was a Banshee episode. This
Mm-hmm.
actress, I don't remember the actress's name, but it was basically he found a Banshee. And her curse was that when someone was dying near her, she could feel it happening. And the reason that she screamed was that she was essentially experiencing that person's death.
Whoa.
And it just happened to her over and over and over again. And she became like this outcast in society because she kept screaming every time somebody died. And like everybody thought that she was causing the deaths.
Mhm,
And that was
Mm-hmm.
like why Banshee were like outcasts in society,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like a hereditary thing. Every woman in her family had this curse. And I mean, that was, 26 years ago. And that just kind of stuck in my head as like, oh, that's like a really interesting explanation for Banshee. I
Mm-hmm.
I I don't put an S on the end because she is a word for the Fae and the plural of she is she. So I always say I don't say banshees because that's not, she is the plural of she. So I always say
Oh, that's
banshee
good.
is the plural banshee. But but I was
I'm
like,
getting
oh, that's
banshee
really
grammar
interesting.
lessons. Yeah.
But that's like that was an interesting take on that folklore, and it was so
Mm-hmm.
different from all of the other, I did a lot of research on all the stories of Banshee out there. But like I really loved that show's take on it. And it only lasted
Mm-hmm.
like one season because nobody watched it, but I have it on
mhm.
like DVD. And it always kind of stuck in my head of like a really interesting and sad story of, oh, it's hereditary. It's just this thing that happens to these women. Someday I might use that in a story, kind of. So
And I
And
think
yeah,
here
it's
we
just
are.
also it's just
gathered.
having the range as well to be and the freedom, flexibility to be able to include that in your stories. Because I think for me, there's so much media to be consumed at any given moment. There's so many different things vying for your attention at all times that we have to be more selective, or like at least I'm trying to be more selective with what I consume. And for me, it's the media that, like you said, you watched this 26 years ago, or this came out 26 years ago, and it has still stuck with you. Those are the types of stories that actually have that kind of impact, and then lead down to a more creative route of, oh, I'm going to expand on this. I'm going to expand on that because it's entirely up to your interpretation.
Yeah, it was haunting.
I believe it. I absolutely believe it. Um, Yeah, no, it's a really cool kind of process. And as someone who enjoys going to the coast, as someone who enjoys having their space, like to your point of the fogginess and everything, I can completely I don't want to say empathize, but like identify with that. 'Cause some of my favorite days are the rainy days on the coast where you're walking
Mm,
through the woods and it's just foggy. You can't, and there's no one else around. And some people find it terrifying. I find it incredibly peaceful. And I
mm,
think a lot of inspiration is spurned from that because it almost feels magical.
yeah.
Mhm. I think sound comes into it as well because I'm also a big fan of
Mhm.
Tumblr and I love the pictures of liminal spaces, like you said. Like there was loads of things that I would subscribe to on Tumblr back in the day that were just like inspiration type posts, like picture walls and stuff of moods, kind of like mood boards for different things. And I'm also a huge Silent Hill fan. I think for liminal spaces, sound and the fog has that muting kind of effect where it kind
Mm,
of dampens everything, quietens everything. And I think we associate things like, the buzzing of a fluorescent light bulb
Mhm.
mm.
and things like that with like faraway traffic does it for me as well, but like far off trains or something, things passing by. But something I wanted to touch on was that there's a lot of, so I work in a gym and I train a lot of women who are currently reading things like A Court of Thorns and Roses and stuff, and they're getting
Yeah.
really into fairies and really into fae in a very, very different way
Oh yeah.
than the way
Mm.
they're portrayed in this book. And I'm always curious when, because this book almost goes like to the complete opposite end of the slider there, which I found refreshing. But I was curious what your take is on modern romantasy fairies versus the kind of fae that you write about.
Um, I do not read a lot of romantasy.
Hmm.
I've read one of the series by Piper C.J.,
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
the Night and Its Moon. I uh to be fully transparent, I am asexual. So
Hmm.
when I'm reading a story like that, I often end up skipping entire pages
Yeah.
because it just doesn't appeal to me. And
Mhm.
one of the things that was really important to me when writing my series, of which this is the only book out so far. I'm currently writing the second book, was to portray asexuality as normal, as
Hmm.
just an aspect of my character. Because I don't see a lot of representation of asexuality in any kind of media.
Hmm.
I've watched a couple of TV shows that had asexual characters, and they handled it really well. It was just sort of like, this is what this character's like. This is just, you know, it's just a matter of fact kind of thing. So I really, once I hear that that's an aspect of a book series, I'm kind of like, oh, well, like how prominent is that in the story? Like I
Right.
put off watching Heated Rivalry for
Oh yeah.
a few weeks, I guess, because I had to ask my brother. I was like, okay, but how much of that is the story? And I did end up watching it. I had most of last week off, so I did end up watching it last week, and it was really great because I love queer stories.
Hmm.
But there were certain scenes where I was like, just checking my phone. I don't really care about this. Um,
Yeah.
It's I mean
but
it's
I
such
like the stories.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
it's such a great point though. I feel like representation gets better as time goes on, but at the same time, there's still
Hmm.
so many stones left unturned, and there's still so much where like exactly that. So I think, and a lot of
Especially in the
time,
indie sphere. And like
yeah.
the indie space has been phenomenal for voices that don't usually get heard to get the same kind
Mhm.
of platform as everyone else.
Well,
It feels like a much more even keel.
I think it's also a lot of authors write what they know.
Yeah.
And if you're an asexual author, you're like that's going to be your experience. It's going to portray in one facet or another in your story, which is great. I think you have it can get a little complicated when you have an author writing someone else's experience.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, there's only so much I can get into in that
Back
topic.
yourself into a corner there,
Yeah,
Ryan.
yeah, I backed myself into a
Yeah.
corner there. That's my bad.
Well, I have a good segue.
Hit me.
Speaking of authors writing out with their experience, how did you get on with the Cockney accent?
I watch so much of there's one of the other inspirations for this book. I watch so much of this show called Repair Shop that
Uh,
happens that's in England, and I think I ended up basing Jay on on a person who is probably really controversial right now because it's
Oh
the
no.
host of Repair Shop is this guy Jay Blades, who is no longer the
Mm.
host of the show because there have been some allegations against him, and now I'm upset.
Jeez.
um but when I started writing, that wasn't going on, but he has a
Uh-huh.
really strong Cockney accent. I watch a lot of British television.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as much as my brother. My brother watches a lot of like the quiz shows,
Hmm.
and then he tells me about them. But I've watched a ton of Doctor Who. I
Oh
watch
yeah.
Broadchurch. I watch
Hmm.
like when we just want background noise on, we put on the Repair Shop, and I just love watching people fix things. And we have this sort of headcanon that because it's just for anyone who's watching who is not familiar with the Repair Shop, it's like this barn that's like in America we have Old Sturbridge Village, which is like a historical people dress in period costume and they show
Right,
how
right.
butter was churned and yarn is spun and all stuff like that. This is one of those like historical villages, but you can bring stuff to get it fixed.
Hmm.
And they have a whole show that shows you how like people fix like old dolls and teddy bears and clocks and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah.
And we've kind of had this headcanon of like they're fairies. And that's how they get like their fairy energy is from
Yeah.
hearing the stories. And um, we just had this kind of headcanon that Jay was this rabbit puka who was like kind of a trickster, and all the other people in the shop are it's this is based on um this silly game that we play from live action role playing called Changeling the Dreaming, where
I know Changeling,
Boggins,
that's a world of darkness.
yes, and
Okay, yeah,
Boggins and Knockers fix things.
yep,
So
yep.
everybody else in the shop is Boggins and Knockers, and they get their
Ryan's just
glamour.
rolling his eyes because Steve's got another obscure tabletop RPG reference into an author interview. I'm so glad you play World of Darkness. Of course you play World of Darkness.
That's where
Right.
so much of my fairy lore comes from, and like the jumping
Yeah,
off point for why I wanted to write a fairy story, because I've been playing
that's
since
great.
1999.
Oh wow.
I've played
Yeah,
so many pukas and
yeah,
knockers.
World of Darkness is old school, man. Like, I'm so glad that you LARP as well. Like, that's
I
great.
do.
I don't want to say I called it, but I had a feeling. I can always tell when someone plays tabletop.
I'm such a nerd. I'm such a nerd. I've
Oh,
written
same.
a nerdy version of Cards Against Humanity called Nerds Against Humanity. I am such a nerd. But yeah, so
I'd play
that's
it.
like our headcanon about that show is that everybody in there is boggins and knockers and they fix things. And then when people come in and tell their stories, that's how they get the glamour. And that's why they're
Hmm.
always so keen on hearing the stories. But yeah, Jay has a Cockney accent, and I've watched a bunch of other British shows like Mysteries and
Hmm.
what's the
Do
other
you
one?
know
Downton
who Stephen
Abbey.
Graham is?
Hmm?
So
Do you know Stephen Graham, famous British actor? He's won loads of awards. He's been in loads of
Maybe.
things. You'd probably recognize him if you've seen him. He's very recognizable. That's how I pictured Jay for the duration of the story, because he's got like I don't even know if it's Cockney because God help me, there's a lot of accents in the UK,
Yeah, there are.
and
yeah, there are.
a,
Or
You can
like a
drive
trainer
20
girl,
minutes.
a trainer girl from Manchester. No, she's from Liverpool, but I once inferred that she was from Manchester because to me they sound the exact same kind of guttural, glottal kind of speech, and she was
Terrible.
wildly offended by this.
She would be so mad.
And I can't
Uh,
say anything because Scotland's the exact same. If you think someone's from Glasgow and you say they're from Edinburgh, they'll react like you've insulted them, even though we sound broadly the same to other people. It's the little differences.
The higher north you
Mm.
go in Scotland, the harder it is for me to understand what you're saying. That's how I can tell where someone is from in Scotland.
Once you
uh,
get up to the islands, it's
Mm.
broadly impossible for anyone, even the
Oh,
people on the islands, to understand what you're saying.
I'm so
It
glad
gets
you
out of
said
hand.
that because I'd feel bad about saying that, but it's good to hear someone from there say that and confirm
so
what I was saying.
I'm gonna use my segue now because there's some questions on the story I want to dive
Oh
into.
yeah.
Awesome.
Um, so there's so many elements of it. Like you have the currency for the Fae when they switch between
Mm.
worlds. You have it's and forgive me because it's been a few months I've read this, but you have obviously Sarah. And
Hmm.
then you have the, I don't even want to say redemption arc, but a tiny bit of a redemption arc for Sarah's ex, I guess, boyfriend.
Hmm.
And like I know that because we've spoken before, I know that those are incredibly difficult sections to go through. It's one of those things. How did you find kind of the redeeming factors of Sarah's boyfriend? Because at the end, like it doesn't take away from the fact that he wasn't good.
Spoilers.
Oh, I mean, yeah, yeah,
Spoilers.
spoilers. You're
Plenty
25
spoilers.
minutes into the interview.
Spoiler
Go
warning.
read the
Yep.
book. It doesn't take like it doesn't take away, it doesn't dismiss the fact that he wasn't a nice guy.
Right.
But at the end, you do see that he is trying. So where
Yeah.
do you find that kind of like, where do you draw the line?
I I don't know.
Okay.
I did not expect that at all when I was writing the book. I expected to hate him the entire time, but then sometimes when you're writing, characters do things that you don't expect. And this was
Hmm.
one of those things where the characters did things that I didn't plan at all. I had a whole outline written. I totally did not expect this. And then it just happened at the end of the book where I was like, oh, this is these characters are taking me to a place where I did not plan
Mhm.
when I was writing. And I don't want to spoil the ending, but I think that everybody's human and everybody has some redeeming qualities. And I think even people who have done bad things are at least, I don't want to say redeemable, but like it's coming from somewhere. I think sometimes when people are really angry and they lash out at others, it comes from a kind of like a self-hatred. It comes from a like they're a little bit sad, they're kind of pathetic. There's something in them that that they hate. And instead of taking it out on themselves, they take it out on other people.
Mhm.
And, you know, I had not a fantastic childhood. I went through some stuff, but there was a turning point at one point when I was in high school where my whole family just had like this, I don't want to say radical honesty. It sounds so cheesy. I hate that.
Hmm.
I hate that term. But we had an afternoon where everything came out and all four of us ended up in the living room crying our eyes out and just talking about it, which is insane that that ever happened, but everything got better after that.
Hmm.
And we all just kind of admitted what was going on and talked about it and where all of this came from. And it got so much better after that. And the people who were problematic confessed where the problematic things were coming from. And we all just kind of hashed it out. And, you know, now I love my parents and you
Yeah.
know it's you kind of you need to find that in people. You need to find those redeeming qualities and you need to talk to them. I don't think I don't think most people are without merit. I don't think most people are
Yeah.
without that, you know,
There's a great thing
humanity.
that ironically was said, I think by a character during a D&D game that I was running. It came from D&D anyway, talking about someone who was considered irredeemable, and they'd said that a person is more than just the worst thing they've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought that was for like a goblin talking, I thought that was really poignant. Like I was like, that's
Yeah. Wow.
there's something really deep in that, you know.
Yeah.
No one's really that, no one's beyond redemption. I certainly think it's a much more interesting choice for this story than
Mhm.
just writing him out of the story, or even like revenge, which it could
Right.
so easily get into.
Well, that
Uh,
and that was kind of the direction because like you're
yeah.
reading three-quarters of the story like I hate this man, I hate this man.
Hmm.
They're going through, they've become they're working with the cat, they're going back and
Mhm.
forth, which was fantastic by the way.
I love
Yeah.
Um,
Chester so
It's a good
much.
fun, man.
but it gets to a point where you're actively rooting against him. I recognized
Hmm.
it myself when I was reading. I was like, I wanted him to fall.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And when it starts coming out of like he is getting help, he is trying, da da da, I'm like, shoot, I don't know. Like like I noticed it in myself, just like I don't know. And like to your point of like you
Mhm.
don't know where the line is. I had no clue either. And I think those are kind of the elements of the story that I remember the most of just
Mhm.
that was the moment that left me thinking, ooh, I don't know. Like that's where you have to process and work through it and figure out, things that you might not have considered before.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I didn't want it to all just be black and white and
Mhm,
Hmm.
tropes and just so easily cut and dry. I wanted to put an amount of moral ambiguity in there.
mhm,
And I think that I was able to do that. And the story even surprised me. Like I said, the characters did things I didn't expect. And it's weird how that happens. Like
And
you plan everything out, and then as you're writing it, you're like, oh no, this character wants to do something else. How is that happening? This is my brain. I thought I was in control, and you're not. You're not. The characters make choices you don't fully expect. You can plan it,
it's like
but then
it's like when
things
you get a plot twist in your dream, and you're like, it's my dream.
this is my brain. I'm in
Yeah,
um,
charge. No.
I kind of love it though.
well,
Yeah.
to that point, on a sunnier side of the story, I want to ask, like, of the currency and of the way that the barter system worked in the
Mm.
faces in the Fey world. Because I always find it so interesting. Like they show up in a new place and it's the gas station cakes that can get them something that we couldn't imagine. Um, was that also inspired by the Changeling lore? Was that something you took your own interpretation of, or
That was inspired by how much I like cake.
hell yeah?
I don't even know where that came from. I it was kind of inspired by when I used to LARP in person because all my LARPs now are over Discord with
You can do
like a
Discord
video call
LARPs.
just like this. Yeah. I'm in
It's
a LARP now it's mostly mage and I'm the one changeling, so I call it
oh, you play
mageling.
mage as well.
I haven't played a mage in like 20 years, but I'm in a mage game and I'm the only changeling and I'm playing a knocker.
Right, you're playing a changeling in a mage game.
I'm
Laurie, you're operating on levels that I did not know were possible to operate on. I'm kind of jealous, if that's okay. Like, I've always wanted to play
I'm
mage.
always making fun of them because they have paradox for their magic and all I have to do is do
Yeah.
something stupid and I can do my magic because I can do a bunk and I don't ever have paradox. And
These
actually
idiots trying to climb the tower, you know?
I have a British character, but I'm not playing her right now. So my current character is American and she's a knocker, but I do have a puka that I play who's British. Um, and I used
Is
to
it
when
over voice or is it text?
it's voice, it's a video call like this.
Do you do the
Oh,
accent?
I do. When I
Oh,
play
I'm not
the
going to ask you. I'm not going to ask you to do
I'm not gonna do a
it.
British accent to you, but I used to
Yeah.
when I played in person,
Steve can't do a British accent.
I played a British character in person,
Uh-huh.
and it was enough to fool Americans that when game was over and I went back to my American accent, they'd be like, wait, I thought you were British."
Nice, nice.
But when I used to play in person, there was a gas station 2 blocks away.
Mhm.
So I'd go and I'd buy those little individually wrapped cakes as a snack
Yep.
to eat at game. So it was kind of inspired by that. Because I love those. Oh, I love those things. Those little individually wrapped. I don't know why they're better than getting a whole pound
Mhm.
cake and slicing it.
Those gas station cakes have got me doing a British accent.
Well, this is also one of those moments that I see where it's like I read too much into it, and the author is just like, no, the curtains are blue because they're blue. They have no subliminal meaning. But then I'll go in and be like, well, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Like we
It's that too.
we
Mhm.
walk past the gas station cakes all the time. We don't bat an eye.
I
Like
also just I hate capitalism. So I just wanted something that was
Word.
different.
fair
I
play.
didn't want money. I didn't want to bring money into this. I wanted a barter system. So I tried to think of like what would they want? What would be valuable?
And
Mhm.
I did really like oh man, forgive me, I forgot his name. Was it Jay? Uh,
Yeah, Jay's
The puka,
the
Jay?
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
rabbit ear man.
Rabbit Ear Man, exactly. I liked how he could identify her, Alice, but she
Hmm.
couldn't. She had no idea what he was talking about, and it was
Yeah.
this idea of almost a mentorship and a friendship, but at the same time, I think the story ended with me going like, okay, what is Jay's ulterior motive here?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because it felt like there was one building up, and obviously don't spoil the sequels because we're excited for
Oh,
them. But
Oh yeah.
is there one building up?
it's it's going to go in a really weird direction.
Oh,
Which I may have mentioned to you. So,
mhm.
it's going to be at least a trilogy, and each
Mhm.
book is inspired by. I had originally thought, okay, each book's inspired by a different story in the fantasy genre. And I
Mhm.
realized it's a little deeper than that. Each book is inspired by a story where a girl goes to another land through kind of either a portal or just a weird circumstance where the thing she experienced might have been a dream. Because
Right, right.
the
I get
first
it.
one's Alice in Wonderland, the second
Uh-huh.
one's Labyrinth, and the third one
Okay.
is um,
Wizard
Wizard
of
of Oz.
Oz? Yeah, boy, I called it.
Okay.
Labyrinth is an interesting choice, though. Labyrinth's a great choice.
Yeah. So in the second one, her brother goes missing. And so
Mhm.
I'm currently writing that right now. She's in New York City and searching for her brother. And uh and yeah, then the third one is where it gets really, really weird because it's Wizard of Oz. So as you can
Seeing
probably
behind the
guess,
curtain.
yeah,
I really
uh
like that.
we might be spending most of that book in Fairy itself,
Well, and I
Not in
think
Kansas. Yeah.
I
not in
think that
Kansas.
please don't.
Literally not in Kansas.
I think that was the biggest thing for me was that and I gotta be fast. We only got 3 minutes left, but the world that we built or the world that you built was so fun to get lost in, and I think you teased it just enough. Where I'm like, I want the next story because I want them to explore more of this world because
Mhm.
although it's one step removed, it's just so different and it's so unique, and you have all these different creatures and species and whatnot, like, all kind
Mhm.
of living together. All these different. It's a mythical realm, and it's I don't know. It's fun to get lost in a world like that.
Great. I'm glad. I have fun writing it, and I have so much more.
So
I have
Yeah,
so
I was
that
many
so asked.
notes.
This was a debut, right?
Yeah.
This was your first
nice.
one. I was originally more impressed that it was a debut until I found out that you're a World of Darkness player. Because
Oh, it's not
that's
impressive anymore.
basically that's basically writing anyway. Like
uh,
if you're in a World of Darkness game, you're taking part in some high level theater,
I'm
like
Yeah.
improvisational,
I'm sorry for
probably.
cutting you off here, Steve, because there's a minute
Oh, gutted.
45 left. Do we know when the sequel is coming out?
No, but I
Yeah.
promise it's not going to take as long as Winds of Winter.
Okay.
That's the
And
one thing that keeps me going. I know I'm not writing really fast, but I'm not going to take as long as George R. R. Martin. I promise you that.
perfect.
Sometime in the next 20 years.
Yep.
And the follow up with that for readers that did enjoy Down the Rabbit Hole, I want to keep up with you. What's the best way they can get a hold of you? You have a website? We'll put all the links kind of in the
I do.
little box.
Yes. My author website is author.laurieneilsen.com.
Perfect.
Everything will be on there.
Easy.
Wonderful. So we have a minute left. See if you have anything obnoxious you want to say. Oh wait, I do. I actually have something I need to say because we spoke about it.
Anything obnoxious?
Yeah. At one point you referenced dropping a penguin off a cliff, and I know that's a Mario 64 reference, and it
Mhm.
Oh
absolutely
yeah.
made my day.
Yeah.
As a fellow gamer, not to the extent of you guys, but I caught that and I brought me a lot of joy.
Awesome. Yeah.
We should
I'm such a nerd.
put it as the bylines, like written by a gamer for gamers. Down the rabbit
Yeah.
hole.
Well,
Liminal
that's the
Spaces
thing is
Book
that you
One.
can it's indie. You can get away with whatever you want to say. Obviously, don't
Amazing.
don't start saying slurs, but we enjoy it. Not the slurs, the actual story.
That's the YPQ
Right.
rules.
Yeah. But on that note, thank you so much for joining us. If you somehow missed it, it's Down the Rabbit Hole. The sequel's coming out soon. And take care. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Being good, Laurie. Have a good